September 28, 2014, from Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. It was the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears in this NFC North rivalry matchup. The Packers won the toss and elected to defer, so the Bears started off with the ball first. They would march down the field as they went 80 yards in 15 plays, eating up 8.5 minutes to begin the game, capped off by a 6-yard touchdown pass from Jay Cutler to Brandon Marshall to put the Bears ahead 7-0. So the Bears jumped out to an early lead, but the Packers responded with a quick drive as they went 81 yards in just 6 plays in just over 2 minutes, capped off by a 2-yard run by Eddie Lacy to tie this game up at 7 as Lacy punched it in from 2 yards out, and so it was 7-7 Green Bay Chicago. So now the Bears had the ball with about 4 minutes left in the first, and they brought the first quarter to a close as they went all the way down to the Green Bay 1-yard line as they had started off on their own 20. Of course, now they would open up the second and third and 1 on the 1, but then a penalty would give them a first down as a defensive pass interference against Clinton Dix would make it first and goal from the 1. But then a penalty against the Bears brought them back to the 5, and an incomplete pass would make it second and 5. And then Forte was stuffed for no gain, and another incomplete pass would bring out Gould, who attempted a 23-yarder, and it was good, and the Bears now took the lead at 10-7 as they were up by a field goal. So now the Packers got the ball with about 14 minutes left before halftime, and Aaron Rodgers marched them back down the field for the second consecutive drive as they went 78 yards in 10 plays in just under 4 minutes, capped off by a 3-yard touchdown pass from Rodgers to Jordy Nelson as the Packers took the lead at 14-10. So now the Bears had the ball with just over 10 minutes left before halftime, and they would score on their third consecutive drive, this time a touchdown, after they went 80 yards in 10 plays, eating up just under 6.5 minutes of game clock as they took back the lead at 17-14 off that 8-yard touchdown pass from Cutler to Jeffery. So the Bears were now in the lead by a field goal, and the Packers now would get the ball with just under 4 minutes left before halftime, and Aaron Rodgers would bring them into the end zone for the third consecutive drive as they went 61 yards in 7 plays in just under 3 minutes, capped off by a 22-yard touchdown pass from Rodgers to Cobb. So the score was now 21-17 as the Packers took back the lead as the lead was going back and forth. The Packers were now up by 4 points with just over a minute left before halftime as the Bears received the ball, but they would not be able to get anything on the board even though they got all the way down to the Packers' 9-yard line. An incomplete pass on first and goal from the 9 brought up second and goal from the 9, and Jay Cutler passed it to Bennett, but then there was a penalty of unnecessary roughness, and the ruling on the field was that the runner was down by contact, and so it ended up the time expired and the game went to halftime in some confusion. So the Packers went into the locker rooms up by 4 points, and they would start off the second half with the ball, and for the first time in this game, they would not get into the end zone, but they would still get points on the board as Mason Crosby kicked a 53-yard field goal to make it 24-17 as the Packers had now scored on every single possession of this game. So the Bears now had the ball with 11 minutes left in the third quarter, and they started marching down the field. They started off on their own 15. They made it across midfield when Forte had a 19-yard run to bring them all the way to the Green Bay 35. Then moments later, it was 3rd and 1 from the 26, and they picked up the first down as Cutler ran for 2 yards. Now it was 1st and 10 from the 24. Cutler dropped back to pass, but then Clay Matthews intercepted the ball. And so Clay Matthews gave the Packers back the ball with 7.5 minutes left in the third on the Chicago 35, and Aaron Rodgers would march them into the end zone moments later, taking full advantage of the short field as he connected with Jordy Nelson for an 11-yard touchdown pass. As Green Bay continued to score at will, and it was now 31-17. As Green Bay has still scored on every single possession of this game. So now the Bears had the ball with 4.5 minutes left in the third, and once again they would turn the ball over. This time it was on first down from the Green Bay 45 as they brought the ball across midfield, and Cutler dropped back and was intercepted by Shields. The Packers took back over with about a minute and a half left in the quarter and brought the third to a close. Mason Crosby had kicked a field goal on the final play of the third quarter, but a penalty would give the Packers a first down, and so it ended up being first and goal from the 3, and Aaron Rodgers found Randall Cobb in the end zone for a 3-yard touchdown. It was now 38-17 as the Packers continued to score at will, as the Bears had not stopped them once from scoring in this game, as all of their possessions resulted in either a touchdown or a field goal up to this point. So now the Bears had the ball with just a few seconds off the clock in the fourth and plenty of game left, although they trailed by 21 points at 38-17. They brought the ball across midfield and all the way to the Green Bay 41, but they would end up going for it on 4th and 5, and an incomplete pass would turn the ball over on downs. So the Packers now took over with just under 11 minutes left in this game. They made it all the way into the red zone and all the way to the Chicago 1-yard line, and they scored a touchdown as Eddie Lacy punched it in, but an offensive holding penalty would bring it back as it was now 2nd and 11 from the 11, and then they ended up getting a 3-yard loss, so it was now 3rd and 14 from the 14, and a penalty, another holding penalty, brought them all the way back to the 24. They picked up 4 yards, but that would make it 4th and 20 from the 20, and Mason Crosby came in to kick a 38-yard field goal, but it was blocked by Young, and for the first time in this game, the Packers failed to score off of a possession, although they made it all the way to the Bears' 1-yard line. So it was a very small victory for the Bears there, but being down by 21 with under 5 minutes left, the game was all but over. They would fail to get into the end zone even though they got into field goal range at the end of the game, and the game came to a close with a final score 38-17 as the Packers dominate the Bears in Chicago. And in this game, Aaron Rodgers was 22 for 28 with 302 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Jay Cutler was 22 for 34 with 256 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The leading rusher in this game was Matt Forte with 122 yards off of 23 carries. And the leading receiver in this game was Martellus Bennett with 134 yards off of 9 receptions. Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson both broke the century mark for the Packers, as Cobb had 113 yards off of 7 receptions with 2 touchdowns, and Jordy Nelson had 108 yards off of 10 receptions with 2 touchdowns as well. So the Packers come up big, and Burnett and Hawk each had 13 tackles for the Packers defense. Is the Packers had 1 sack and the Bears had 1 sack, but the Packers got those 2 big interceptions as Shields and Matthews both picked off Cutler. And the Packers offense, as I said, all game long they scored at will as they made it all the way to the fourth quarter before the Bears finally were able to stop them from scoring. So the Packers even up their record at 2-2, and the Bears record is also at 2-2. And the final score here is 38-17, Packers over the Bears.